Welcome back. We'll start with another important topic for the NEET and the AMCAT examinations, that is understanding the characteristics of living beings. Now this is something you have been studying from, let's say, the grade 1 or grade 2. In a very simple definition, if we say what is a living being and the characteristics of living being, we can simply say an organism which can grow, which can reproduce, which can bring in generations, which can breathe or which can move are good examples or good characteristics to understand living beings. However, coming up to a higher level, we will try to understand the characteristics of living being in depth, and this would help us understand the further chapter, the further sections of the chapter that talks about the systematics, the nomenclature and the taxonomy in general. So let's start with the basic characteristics. The first and the foremost characteristic is cellular structure. So all the organisms are made up of cells, and these cells are arranged in certain fashion. Now if there is a living being, there would be a kind of definite cellular structure that would be seen. However, this would not be the case with a non-living organism. So we can say a living organism is made up of protoplasm, and this protoplasm includes the cytoplasm and the nucleus. So the living beings would have the protoplasm, that would include the cytoplasm and the nucleus. Now this nucleus contains the DNA or the information that is transmitted through the genetic makeup, and you have the information that goes on from one person to another person, from parents to children and so on. So it's a kind of hereditary information that goes on. So you have the genes that go through the nucleus, and nucleus along with cytoplasm form the protoplasm, which forms the cellular structure. The next important constituent is the metabolism. Now to explain metabolism simply, I can say it's a sum total of all the chemical reactions that takes place. So all the chemical reactions that takes place together constitute the metabolism. Now this metabolism can further be defined under two heads. One is anabolism and other is catabolism. A lot of students get confused understanding or remembering the differences between the catabolism and the anabolism. So the best way I would say is catabolism. So catabolism is similar to cat means cut. So what you are doing is you are destroying, you are breaking it down. So catabolism is a breaking down mechanism, or it is destructive in nature. On the other hand, anabolism is joining up or a constructive mechanism. So what would happen under anabolism? Under anabolism, the kinetic energy would be converted into potential energy because you are constructing something. However, since you are destroying something, the potential energy would get converted into kinetic energy. In anabolism, simpler forms join to form a more complex form. However, under catabolism, complex forms break down into simpler forms, and these are some of the examples. So let's talk about a case of anabolism and a case of catabolism. So let's say to make a plant food, what the plant intake carbon dioxide and hydrogen, and they form glucose and oxygen. So this is a anabolic mechanism, and this occurs under direct sunlight. So you have photosynthesis that takes place and starch or glucose is formed, and this is what we call as anabolism. However, on the other hand, if I make the arrow this way, what would happen? This glucose breaks down into carbon dioxide and water to provide energy, and that is what is catabolism. So breaking down is catabolism, joining up is anabolism in very simple terms. Now the next thing is growth. Growth is again very important. So when we say growth, now growth is increase in the size of the living organisms in very simple way. Now if it is a living organism, we call this growth as intussusception. So you call it as. However, in non-living organisms, you call it as accretion. So let's say you have a piece of stone and the sand is coming in, that piece would also grow in size, but it is a non-living organism or non-living thing. So that stone might increase in the size, but that is due to only accumulation of the similar material or other materials towards itself, and that is what is known as accretion, and that occurs in non-living organism. However, when we talk about living organisms, it's through the method of interception. Now this interception can be of two types, protoplasmic and aprotoplasmic. When we say protoplasmic or protoplasmic, you have the living thing that combines the cytoplasm and the nucleus. The aprotoplasmic is also known as apoplasmic, and this apoplasmic is basically the formation or the growth without the protoplasm. So what would be involved here? Here would be involved would be cell wall, cell fiber. So all these things, if they grow in size, it would be apoplasmic or aprotoplasmic, we also call it as. However, when we call about protoplasmic, it's the growth in the nucleus and the cytoplasm that we consider as the real growth. The next is reproduction. Reproduction can be of two types, asexual and sexual. When we talk about asexual reproduction, it's basically uniparental, so only one parent is involved. As a result, there is no fusion of gametes that takes place. So the common example would be in the case of amoeba, you have the asexual reproduction that takes place. However, when we talk about sexual reproduction, there is fusion of gametes. So fusion of gametes, what does it lead to? Fusion of gametes would lead to formation of zygote, and that would be the case of sexual reproduction. Now there are certain exceptions to reproduction. So let's say mules, you have sterile worker bees, then you have infertile couples. So these are all exceptions, but in general you have reproduction, which is one of the major characteristics of living beings. The next is consciousness. Consciousness means responding to some external stimulus in one way or the other. So let's say photoperiodism, that's sensitiveness to light. So you can say sunflower is a good example. So when we try to demonstrate with sunflower, we say it bends towards the sunlight. That means it is showing photoperiodism or there is some movement. Now again I can say, let's say I have a finger and I have a needle. If I struck this needle at my hand would automatically move. However, if I struck this needle to a kind of baby toy that I have, nothing would happen. This would not even move, or there would be no sensation that would be felt here. So what is the difference? That is the difference of the consciousness. Again, an exception of the consciousness would be coma. In the case of coma, the patient is unable to feel or to have sensations. So that's an exception. Otherwise, you have consciousness as one of the characteristics of living being. Next comes organization. Now we have smaller cells that make up the cell organ. Then you have the organ that makes up the organ system, and finally you have the organization of a living being that could be seen in. So all this together is known as organization. The next is energy. Now energy is very, very important. When I say energy, we get energy from meals. Plants get energy as a result of carbon dioxide and water that comes in, which forms in glucose, which is the food for the plant. So you have constant energy that comes in, and this energy gives us randomness, and you have the energy to work in, and that's one of the characteristic of living organism. The next important characteristic of living organism is homeostasis. That means living being is able to maintain its internal temperature or the internal situation with the surroundings. That means even there is, despite of the extremities in the weather conditions, an individual would be able to maintain his body, and that is what is homeostasis. The next is variations. Definitely there are variations. No two persons look alike. There is variation between brothers and sisters, children and parent. So what is this? This is variation, and that is again a characteristic of living organism, because for a non-living organism, if I am trying to make two dolls, through machine I can make exactly similar dolls or clone them. However, cloning or exceptions to that would be even identical twins. When we talk about, there are variations in the identical twins in the level of intelligence, in the way they behave. So no two living things are exactly alike or exactly same. So there are variations. The next is adaptation. Adaptation means adjusting to the surroundings. Now these adaptations can be of two types: short term adaptations and long term adaptations. A good example of short term adaptation would be hibernation or estivation. Hibernation is known as the winter sleep and estivation is known as the summer sleep. So you have let's say lizards which hibernate. So you have the hibernation or the winter sleep, or estivation or the summer sleep. Then there are long term adaptations. For example, in long term, some perching birds adopted to have claws so that they can have the prey and kill it and have their food. So that's a kind of long term adaptation, that is enlargement of the claws or formations of the claws. The next is healing or repair. Our body is unique. So if there is certain wound that takes place, there is automatically new cells that are being formed to replace the worn cells, and therefore you have an automatic healing that takes place. And that is again a characteristic of living organism. Non-living organisms cannot heal or repair on their own. The next is disposal of the waste. So every living organism disposes of the waste through the excretory mechanism. The next is movement. Movement or locomotion, as we saw, is again very important. So a plant can move with the changes in the photoperiodism, as we saw. However, animals and human beings can walk, can move from one place to another. So that's again a very, very fundamental characteristic of the living organism, that's movement. The next is lifespan. So all the living organisms have certain fixed lifespan. So let's say we talk about human beings, we say 80 to 100 years. We talk about elephants, we talk about tortoise. So each organism would have a separate lifespan, but would have a definite lifetime during which they would survive. And finally is death. So all living organisms which are born, at a given point of time they increase in the entropy and ultimately die. So that is death. So death is definite for living organisms. Now let's talk about amoeba. If we say, so amoeba does not die, it's immortal. So what happens is amoeba breaks up into two by binary fission, and there is no actual death that could be seen. So that's again a variation of death that is seen in amoeba. However, all living organisms die. So these were the basic fundamental characteristics when we try to explain a living organism. In the next class, we would be talking about the diversity in the living organisms and the concept of systematics. Following that, we would be working about the nomenclature and the taxonomy. Stay tuned. Have a good day ahead.